So here the 5 elements, how one by one is formed based on development of newer and newer dimensions of perception, starting from sound. Sound is a perception, touch is a perception, form is a perception, taste is a perception, smell is a perception. These are all different perceptions. Perception means there is a perceiver. Perceiver is seeing. Perceiver is perceiving sound. Perceiver is perceiving touch. Perceiver is perceiving form. Perceiver is perceiving taste. Perceiver is perceiving smell. When we perceive an object, a gross object, like this table, chair, everything, then that contains sound, touch, smell, taste. It contains form, taste. When you perceive water or any liquid, say water, you can say. The liquids are also there with smell, so they also fall under earth. Pure water. Then you perceive 4 of these things. Then when you perceive fire, you see 3 of them. Three of them means 3 of the senses also involved. If 3 senses are there, you can perceive fire element. Air, 2 of them. Ether, 1 sense only, hearing. By hearing, you recognize ether is there. By hearing and touching, we know air is there. By hearing, touching, seeing, we know form is there, rupa is there. By hearing, touching, seeing and tasting, you have water. By hearing, touching, seeing, tasting, smelling, earth element is there. Earth element is perceived. It's amenable to 5 senses. So this is how the 5 Panchabhutas are classified with respect to the perceiver. Therefore, it is based on perceptions, fundamental perceptions of smell, touch, taste, etc. Now here it is said rupa. My dear mother, the characteristics of form are understood by dimensions, quality and individuality. Form of fire is appreciated by its effulgence. See, individuality, take individuality. Say this wood, Suppose there is asan, this is also made of wood, this is also made of wood. The individuality of why this is called a chair, why this is called a table. Because the form is different. Therefore it is said here, form, the characteristics of form are understood by dimension, wood and wood, quality and individuality. So I call this a table, I call this an asana. What is the basis of this individuality? This is an individuality. This is not an asana. This is not a table. So this individuality is coming from form. Individuality is different, personality is different. Personality gets an individuality. For instance, I am a personality. My particular form like this gives me an individuality. Your form gives you an individuality. That's how I recognize you. That how you are different, you are different, you are different, you are different. That means what is the characteristic that differentiates you from one person to another, this person to this person? What is that individuality? It is made of the form. Suppose I had an identical person like me sitting next to me. Then there is no individuality difference, isn't it? Same individual, no individuality difference. So it is a different form that creates individuality. Now, dimensions. Dimensions is, from dimension only the form differentiates. A tall man, short man, etc., etc. Dimensions. Quality and individuality. Now what is quality? Here Prabhupada says, quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. Why is this a table? Why is this an asana? Utility. What does it do? The quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. The utility of table is different, utility of asana is different. A very fundamental analysis it is. That is why it's called Sankhya, very fundamental analysis. What is what? Based on our perception. All definitions are based on our perceptions. But the form of the sound is independent. That is, naturally the form of the sound is independent. Because sound is item number one. It has no form in it. So therefore it is, form of the sound is independent. Forms which are invisible can be understood only by touch. Why Prabhupada is saying can be understood only by touch? Because above form, anything that is there can be understood only by touch and sound. Anything subtler than form can be understood only by two senses, touch and sound. So that is what Prabhupada. That is the independent appreciation of the invisible form. Visible forms are understood by analytical study of their constitution. That constitution is dimension, quality, individuality. Constitution of certain object is appreciated by its internal action. What is the action? This is a table, this is a chair. For example, the form of salt is appreciated by interaction of salty tastes. It's a characteristic, constitution. Utility. Form of sugar is appreciated by interaction with sweet tastes. Taste and qualitative constitution are the basic principles in understanding the form of an object. So basically, we need to understand that this has originated from sound. Everything, earth has originated from the sound. Water has originated from sound. Originated means sound became earth, sound became water, sound became fire, sound became air. In other words, starts like that. Sound becomes air, air becomes fire, fire becomes water, water becomes earth. So this is how the creation of gross elements develops. As per this development, the appropriate senses also develop, tanmatras. When there is sound, then sense of hearing is created. Then from that air, the two other sense of hearing, one more sense is added, sense of touch is added. Like that, each, as you progress down, the 5 elements with their 5 tastes and with the appropriate senses for that have developed. Pancha Indriya, Pancha Bhuta, Pancha Indriyas and Tanmatras. Tanmatras means the taste, sense, all those 5. So 15 elements. And when you see this table, you don't have to perceive everything about the table. There are 5 perceptual dimensions to earth, to a table. But you don't have to see all that. Only when we see, we just see the form. Let us say you do not know it is a table. It's a piece of wood for you. You have no experience, it is a table. Later on you learn it is a table. Then you see that dimension of it. You see that dimension of it. The context, the internal quality, the context, the constitution, what is its function, what is its utility, is characteristic of the object. Modern science, physics, they don't see that. They see this is wood. That's all. For them, it is they are indifferent to whether it is a table or a chair. They'll call this as wood, as per science. In physics, there is no equation which says it's a wood and it is a table. Wood and it is a table. This is wood and it is a asan. If I take a pen, I'll say, okay, it is a pen. But there is no equation which says, from reading from which, pen means writing. The function of it. So they have only one item in perception, this is wood, that's all. matter, they study matter, that's all. That is how modern, when they have reached at the quantum level, they are seeing that this kind of perception of matter is insufficient when it goes to quantum mechanics. They went deeper and deeper into the atom. What is atom made up of? What is this made up of? That for them. What is electron made up of? Deeper, deeper, deeper they went. After a certain level in subatomic space, the concept of an object vanished. We all think that the atom consists of electron, proton, neutron. That's how in school we are taught. But that is not true. There is a cloud of probability of a particle called a concentrated charge, not even a particle, concentrated charge. We think of electron protons as circular balls. That's all for children they teach. Scientist perception is not like that. The true perception is not like that. An electron is a charged cloud. The probability of finding that concentrated cloud in a particular orbit is this much. Therefore, is high probability. Therefore, I say it is running around this orbit. But the very same charge, mathematically, has got equal probability to be anywhere in the universe. So, where is a particle, electron? Is it in that orbit, or is it anywhere, any other point? So, concrete position of a particle has vanished. There is no absolute thing called position. In classical mechanics, they used to think that this I can clearly define. At what coordinates this table is sitting, its position can be defined. When I define, I say it exists there. Now when you go to subatomic thing, electron, they cannot say according to their theory of existence. Because science is about existence, studying existence, not about what doesn't exist. Where is the particle? Is a particle here or a particle somewhere else? No, everything is a probability. Then, that is mathematics says so. But the moment you observe a particle, observe a charged cloud or probability, you observe, it becomes concrete electron with a particular position. So before you perceive, you do not know where it is. Moment you have a perceiver coming in, it becomes concrete, it is there. So when I did not see, was it there or not? No, it was all over the universe. When I saw, it is there. This is what has shocked the scientist, this finding. Till now we were thinking that the observer has no role at all in finding, in locating, in defining a characteristic of a particle. So they did very elaborate experiments. They isolated one electron, and they put. They have a barrier with two holes inside, by side, two holes. The size of the hole is size of the electron. That size, so heavy equipments there. And they sent one electron. And they did not try to see the electron. There was no perceiver. So the electron went through both the holes. How do you know it went both the holes? The other side they got a interference pattern. Just like interference pattern you get only if it is a wave. So then they were shocked. I sent one electron and I am seeing a wave here. Wave pattern of charge. There is one circle of deeper charge, another circle of less charge, lesser, then deeper, like dark and light bands. They got shocked. So far we thought it was particle. Is it really particle or is it a wave? Suddenly they introduced one equipment to observe what is happening to electron. Let me see whether it is going through this hole or that hole. Moment they put the equipment and they started observing, it went into one hole and the other side it came as a particle. That means when you observe, it becomes a particle. When you don't observe, it is a wave. Wave means it's all over the universe. Wave means probability only. Because that interference pattern you can go on, you don't see it, that's all. But every interference pattern is infinite. Lighter and lighter and lighter, in the center will be very bright. Lighter and lighter and lighter, it will go like that, interference pattern. So then the question came, is electron a particle or is it a wave? This is very important for scientists because till then classical mechanics were studying objects. There exists an object. Now they do not know, there doesn't exist an object, only when I see an object is existing. So this was a very mind-boggling discovery. And Albert Einstein could not swallow this. He said, this cannot be true. But later on, before, he died, a lot of development happened, he had to believe it. He said, no, this can't be true. He said, if I don't see the moon, does the moon exist or not? This big question was asked by him in science. If quantum mechanics is true, if nobody is seeing the moon, will it exist or not? Or if I am not seeing the moon, it exists for me or not? For others it may exist, for me it may not exist if I don't see. Till today there is no answer for this question in science. But we can answer because Bhagavatam says, unless the Lord sees first, you cannot see. So everything that you are able to see is because Lord is seeing that. In other words, objectivity of this material world is existing only because of Paramatma. This as per quantum mechanics, there has to be somebody to see it. If they don't see it, it's not a concrete object. So then who is seeing it? I am not seeing, you are not seeing, nobody is seeing, but moon is there as a concrete object. As a particle it is there. Moon is not waving around anywhere. It's a concrete particle is there. Planets are moving around. Krishna says in Bhagavad, by fear of me, the planets are running around. It's all scientific statements actually. The Lord is perceiving it. So the very concept of what is an object is a very, just like an object, earth, water, fire, air, ether, are classifications of objects. It is based on sense perception. There are dimensions of perceptions in that classification. There are 5 elements. In modern science, an object has got only momentum, position, that's all. 2 characteristics, position and its velocity, that's all. Mass, momentum and position. By that you can understand by momentum and position you can understand an object fully. But where they are talking about other things, so they are completely oblivion to the other reality of the quality of touch, smell, taste, sight, etc., which is actually a characteristic of, an objective characteristic of every object. So nowadays, some there is a science called information theory, and as per that information theory, their classification of what is an object is not based on physics. It's based on if it's a chair, then it is a chair. If it's a table, it is a table. Wood plus it's a table and a chair. A pen means pen with writing ability, with its quality. They started defining like this objects. It's called semantic information, not ordinary information. Physics information is different, velocity, position, etc. No, semantic information. Because they want this, they are seeing there is utility in this, because if you were to compute something in artificial intelligence, if you want a form recognition by a computer, that means you have to feed that, no? So certain objects with form, touch, smell, all these things they're trying to integrate. It's a very big area that is now developing, which has actually come out of quantum mechanics. And look at this, now Vedic tradition, ancient tradition, our rishis have recorded these things. The Lord as incarnation, of course, is speaking the absolute constitution of how the material elements are formed. And a day will come when these things are understood properly. We can say that modern science was very primitive and this is very advanced. They could never understand, therefore they put it as primitive. What all your Bhagavatam talks, Panchabhuta and all, they are primitive. But that science will become primitive. Whatever little science that is there, it is the process of, within the limited scope of 5 perceptions, 5 sense perceptions. What the physics is finding out has value, it is truth. They are discovering. Krishna only is revealing to them one by one. This uncertainty principle, that everything. They are only, Krishna only is moving the world of physics step by step. And as Prabhupada says, Prabhupada does not say, he says, with proper investigation, with proper study of matter, that in the 2-3 purports, that is very nicely explained here. This verse is a potential basis of great scientific research work. See, for it explains how subtle forms are generated from the ethereal element, what their characteristics and actions are, how the tangible elements, namely air, fire, water, ether, are manifested from the subtle form. Mental activities or psychological actions of thinking, feeling, willing are also activities on the platform of ethereal existence. So Prabhupada is saying this is a basis for, can be a potential basis of great scientific research work. Spirit is not something which is completely different. If we continue this, because ultimately even matter is spirit. If you continue the study, it's a long path. That path you cannot reach. But ideally speaking, if you continue studying, research, you can find out what is spiritual world also. That's why the Vaishnava Siddhanta does not say that this is an illusion. Illusion is always with respect to a perceiver. This, what exists is not, when for the time being when it exists, it is an energy that is manifest in varieties of forms coming from Mahavishnu. It's a reality within the time frame. It is a reality. It is not just like there is a whole philosophy coming out of this Matrix movie. They say this is all illusion. It's like a software. You are inside a software. That is very close to Mayavada understanding. We are inside a software. That means these are all software. But actually this is a real creation of the Lord. Why you say it's a real creation of the Lord? Because it's a real and absolute energy of the Lord. Pradhana, the unmanifested material energy, has got the capacity to expand into variegatedness. And then time of pralaya, it all goes back into undifferentiated energy. But the energy is a real energy. It's a spiritual energy of the Lord, Pradhana. Because it produces material variegatedness, it is called material energy. In fact, there is nothing like material energy. Material energy is spiritual energy which has the impact of three modes of material nature on the living entity. When that acts within the three gunas, it is called matter, material energy. Otherwise, for pure devotees, there is no material energy. Every energy is pure because its impact is, they see everything in connection with Krishna, and no three gunas do not affect in service of the Lord. So these are all subjects of, fine absolute truth. And if we want to learn these things, then if somebody researches this Sankhya, then they can find out. But what is our purpose of all this Sankhya? Okay, today modern science, in order to challenge that, to prove to those scientists, we may have to do research to, elaborate research to establish all these things. But as far as normal Bhagavata, a student of Bhagavata is concerned, a devotee is concerned, he does not work for the proof of these things. He does not need the proof of these things. He accepts these as truth and he forms perceptions of how this creation happens. This is the way creation happens. And you can see forms characteristic of form, just like you see, let's say, you partially see opposite sex. You don't see the full person. If you see the full person, then you will not get attracted. What you are seeing? Form. That means you have a capacity for selectively seeing either the sound or touch or form or smell or taste in an object. So predominantly form you are perceiving. You don't perceive the other qualities of that body. If you perceive fully, understood by dimension, quality and individuality. So if you perceive the quality, then, like Shankaracharya says, it is flesh, blood, mucus, urine, etc. This is what. You don't see that. So you selectively see, there's an illusion. You don't see the object in its full quality, you don't see. You only see what you want to see, the form. And then you know why it is bewildering me so much. Why it is bewildering? Because you are not seeing the whole, only one aspect of it you are seeing. One aspect, from that you created an individuality. That form, you create an individuality. So form, individuality is a bigger Maya. Is a bigger Maya. The moment you see the quality, you won't see the quality. What is the constitution? Just like Prabhupada says, the quality The quality of a particular object is appreciated by its utility. What is its characteristics? Like a table is a table. Like that, what is its quality? So it helps us helps us perceive things in its fullness and not selectively what we want. Just like if you're attracted to luster of a person, very lustrous face. It is said here that it is a characteristic, the form of fire is appreciated by its effulgence. Effulgence is nothing but luster, right? So only luster affects our sense of seeing. Form is predominantly sense of seeing. So eyes is not the sense of seeing. It is a gross sense of seeing. But there is a sense of seeing. There is an independent sense of seeing. That sense of seeing is sensitive to luster, beautiful forms, all these things. Eyes by itself is not, but there is a sense of seeing, which is a material sense of seeing, one of the 24 elements, sense of seeing. So that sense of seeing is designed in such a way that it is attracted towards opposite sex, opposite form. So knowing well the characteristics of this, how the perception works, that these are all material elements. I cannot play with these material elements. These material elements actually they are just like any reaction, it works just like hit. I hit this, then if I hit this with a knife, this will damage. Laws of gross material laws are there. Similarly, laws of perceptions are there. Five senses, and it is not that eyes that is getting agitated by Maya. It is your sense of seeing that is getting agitated. And then the mind gets agitated. Any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, my question is, as you explained that it's objectivity of any object, that is very important while we are perceiving this. So, as an individual, you explained that if we are perceiving some object, if we are not perceiving, that is not observable.
It is not?
Like if we are not observing, it's not behaving like.
It's not concretely present. Yeah. It is all over the universe.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, my question is that whether the distance is also depend upon objectivity. Like in Vedic perceptions, the calculation of distance of moon and all is different because it is said moon is farther than sun. And modern science perceive it in a different way.
How they perceive?
Like they say that moon is nearer, sun is farther. And we say the opposite as per our Vedic understanding. So is that also due to the objectivity of that object? Like is it related to what you explained in that class?
No. See, that's all changed now. Modern science also do not. In quantum mechanics, if you say, okay, absolutely, you are observing it to be nearer and closer. Whether it is really near or really close, nobody knows according to them. This is the answer a quantum scientist would say. Is a moon closer or sun closer to the earth? So it is, when you are observing, it appears to be closer. But whether really moon is closer, whether sun is closer, I do not know. Probability. Because the concept of distance, you see, is completely, this universe is so bewildering to the scientists today. The last 50 years, it is so bewildering, they will not give any concrete answer. A Big Bang theory, it comes out of, 13 point to the last decimal. This many years is the age of the universe. So there are scientific basis for all that. Sometime we'll be able to connect and show also that what they are saying is right. 13.5 billion years. But what is that 13.1? What happened before that? Mahavishnu is breathing universes, right? Naturally, when it is breathing, it is coming as a small speck only, no? The Brahmanda expands. This is expanding. And then at the time of each, when he withdraws the creation, at the end of 100 years of Brahma, these universes reverse, they go back, right? So now, how they have calculated what is the age of the universe, Big Bang theory. The time, how an initial starting point has, they are seeing that all the particles are flying, all the stars are moving apart each other. You see any heavenly body, they see with the microscope, they are all moving apart. They are not coming closer together. They are all moving apart. What does it mean? Just like on a balloon, you blow a balloon. The distance between each of them, so they are observing that it's like a balloon, it is going on, expanding universe. At some time, that force becomes, that initial force explosion becomes zero. Then they say it will start reverse path. Time will reverse. It will come back to zero. Then again, so then they are saying it is an oscillating universe. So all these things, these things were not even existing 100 years back, but thousands of, millions of years back, our Shastra is talking about universe coming forth and going back inside.
And Prabhu, as you explained that in this universe, first ether is coming from sound.
First of all, distance is not absolute according to modern science. There is no distance, there is time, space, they say. There is no time, space. Time, space, 3 dimensions and time. That is, all objects are in time, space. Objects are not in space. Objects are in time, space. Right now you are in Bangalore, you are in this hall. On such and such a date, the time t is equal to, from the starting time of Big Bang till now, tomorrow you are in another location of another time. Even if you are sitting in the same hall, suppose you freeze everything, time is still moving. It is another dimension for them. Physical dimension it is. The time as a physical dimension was accepted by us long back. That Kala is an element. Kala is an outside reality. Kala is not in our head. Till 100 years back, science was thinking Kala is in our head. Only 3 dimensions are there. I have a particle, I throw it, I bring it and all those things, I study it, right? For studying the motion of it, I am creating this concept called time. But suddenly in 1900 they discovered that there is just like length, breadth and width, 3 dimensions, there is a real thing called time outside. How did they find out? This is very easily verifiable when you go into atomic level. At the atomic level, if you go, you will find this is happening.
Prabhu, you explained that this from sound ether is coming, then from ether air, fire, water, like this is coming. This is Vedic conception. So if you will see in the modern evolution theory, they tell it differently, that first cell was built, slowly complicated organisms they built. But from Vedic point of view, where exactly the Jiva came? Because Mahavishnu injected the spirit.
We are not talking about Jiva at all.
Yeah, they are not talking, but
they are not talking, we are also not talking.
But where exactly the...
That's a different question. We're not talking about jiva at all. We are talking about how from false ego all these elements one by one are coming. Jiva is separate. That by identification he comes into contact, that is separate. Now when we are talking about from sound comes everything, we are talking about energy. The energy consolidates, first as ether, then as air, then as fire, then as water, then as it consolidates. That is what it means. It's a energy, finer and finer energy. Therefore sound is considered to be having all the energies. Prabhupada gives a beautiful example. If you want to build a skyscraper, everything begins with sound, he says. Idea is a sound. From there, Prabhupada gives example. You have to tell somebody, supply me this sound. Then he supplies concrete, this, that. All these things happen by sound only. It is created finally the skyscraper. Just see. It's a completely different perspective of seeing things. Grandharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.